Welcome to Really No Really. You haven't liked and subscribed yet? Really? Do it, where the puppets get angry. Now here's Jason Alexander and Peter Tilden.
Lori, are we rolling on this?
Are we
next
there,
one?
Laurie? Rolling down the river.
Right, I'm going to eat one more cracker.
You should do it while that's the intro.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a show. Welcome to Really No Really. I have to eat this one last saltine because I'm having stomach trouble. And it's good. I don't know why a saltine is good for stomach trouble.
It probably has absorbent qualities, I'm guessing.
Absorbent qualities.
Absorbent qualities.
What's it absorbing?
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
God. I know.
You asked.
And Jason can't scoot, so I'm actually looking at him?
Jason is fine.
My
And
God.
scene.
Really? No, really? Really? No, really? Really?
Now, what, should there be a rule you can't, what, we never eat when we're having, there are podcasts where people eat during the podcast.
There are
We
people
don't
having
do that.
sex during. There are people doing everything during podcasts. If they jumped off a bridge,
Because,
would
one
jump
of
off
the
a bridge?
reasons is that there's no, honestly, when we began this, nobody said this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it, this is an etiquette, this is a thing, this is how you greet a guest, this is how you say hello, goodbye. This is
that's
the Wild
true.
West.
You're right. With radio and broadcasting, there's an FCC.
Right.
You can't say these
Yeah.
words. You can't do this. You can't hear. It's you want to lie down.
You want to go 5 minutes, go 5. You want to go an hour, go an
Clothing
hour.
on, clothing off. You want to make your nipples dance. Just do whatever you want to do. Nobody. There's zero rules.
Yeah,
You're exactly right.
And so we're out there in the hinterland.
You said it. The wild,
no
wild,
one is.
the wild,
yeah.
wild west of this. We always get that. Your set's too nice.
Yeah.
You should be doing it lying in bed at a flop house with somebody shooting up in the background. That will get you huge viewership.
So we're talking today. We're going to talk about rules in the new world, because honestly, it does feel. It's, on a serious note. That was the note.
Wow.
On a serious note, it feels like society is changing rapidly.
Yes.
And the sort of etiquette, the do's and don'ts that I grew up with when Ann Landers was the go-to and the guru, and they're not necessarily holding true. Some of them do. Some of them are time-tested.
But there's also new technology. There's new everything. So, and by the way, I know one of the new rules that we're going to be talking about in a minute is you can use COVID as an excuse for anything, because I think one of the writers, either the person we're talking to or somebody who did the research, said, you know what, we got to turn it into a positive. We got to use it somehow, use it for positive. And I admit, there have been quite a few times where I said, I think I may have COVID, and I don't want. You've used it, yes? Come on.
Have I used it?
Jay, look at me in the eye.
COVID. No, I'll tell you how I've used it, because it's been a net positive for me. Particularly when I fly, I continue to use the face mask,
Which is brilliant because
it helps cut down on the recognizability, and it's just it's a little less. I can.
How much does that work? The recognizability thing.
About 50-50. If I talk, forget it. I guess my voice has become.
But most of the time, people
recognizable.
don't see it. So let's do the new rules. You want to get it?
So you got a guy
Cory
who's
Seeker?
like the arbiter of the new rules.
Cory Seeker is a writer, a blogger, an editor. New York Magazine, was the editor of the New York Times style section also. He wrote a book called Very Recent History, an extremely factual account of, for a year in a very large city, which seems to be a very interesting book. And he was involved in all of these new rules, the new rules for the way we should live. And I think that rules are good as long as you can ask why. If you can explain why, then the rules.
Is that your rule?
That's my rule.
Your rule.
So
A
let's
new
say
rule
hi
is
to
good
Cory.
If you can ask why,
That's why, yeah,
and
because
get a
you know
good
what?
explanation.
Like the HOA, Homeowners Association,
Sure.
they're always adding new rules. Why? Right?
You're telling me.
Right. Bingo.
You're
Why?
telling me.
Oh, you're living with one of those. So it's Cory. I see Cory, but I don't think he's hearing us or he's ignoring us.
It's lovely to meet you,
Lovely to
Cory.
meet you.
Welcome to
gentlemen,
Really No
so
Really.
nice. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the new rules. Let's get into a bunch of them. You bring up the ones that you like the best, and then we can talk about pushback. We can talk about all kinds of stuff once we hear the ones that resonate with you the most.
I mean, I know you two gentlemen don't always work in an office, but like a lot of us stop going to offices and like people lost their sort of the basic ways of like how we all like intertwine and get along.
Sure. And that generated the new rules. But before you
Yeah.
jump into what some of these new rules are, how how do I ask this? How do you have the stones to be the arbiter of these new rules? Who decided you? No, seriously, how did you come to go, I think I could be a good arbiter, for lack of a better word, of what is right, what is wrong, or even the progenitor of such rules?
Ooh.
That's a very fair question with many excellent words in it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we had a team at New York. Like we did this as a group together. It was sort of a group homework project, and we also like polled the entire staff. We polled our friends. Like we spent a lot of time making lists and then making fun of each other, and then we went and kicked the tires. So people would tell us ideas for a rule, and then we'd like go try it out, and they sometimes worked and they sometimes didn't.
Yeah.
So like we did a little road testing. It was pretty. At the end of the day, some of it was just for fun though.
Sure. So with that in mind, now that I know we're talking to a bona fide expert, not just some guy
But these
with
were
good
pretty-
hair.
These also caused some pushback. We'll talk about the pushback later. Okay.
Oh, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good hair, by the way.
They're setting me up here.
So we have favorites, but what are some of your favorites? What are the ones that have proven to be either really fun or really accurate?
So, I mean, and also some of this, and I'll give you one here, but like, and it'll play differently in LA than it'll play in New York
Sure.
or than it'll play in Chicago. So like, always don't forget that etiquette is sort of local too. So one of my favorites is if you've met someone and they're like trying to place you, just be like, hi, we've met, I'm Cory. You know what I mean? Like you just come out and sort of reintroduce yourself. And sometimes people will get offended, but like we've forgotten that like, we think everyone knows each other's names. You see someone's face on social media.
Right.
It's like you gotta give them a little hand, just give them a little help. And so little ones like that make me really happy.
My wife has a thing called, I think I'm saying it right, plasmapagnosia, where she has face blindness to a certain
She really
degree.
does?
Not chronic the way I've met some people do, but if she hasn't spent a fair amount of time with you and she hasn't seen you in a day, 2, 3, 4, she will not recognize your face immediately. And so it's of great help if somebody says, hi, I'm so-and-so, we met at so-and-so's party, and she's, oh God, thank you so much.
In a similar vein, like we're going with basics here, like the thing we finally realized was whenever you tell someone they look like someone else, you're just being an asshole. Like it's just rude. Like even if it's like I would say like, oh, you look like Tom Cruise, you're gonna be like, the fuck I did. You know what I mean? Like you can't win. There's no one feels good here. Just don't ever say you look like someone.
All right.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me see if I can turn it into a useful. I understand not going up to somebody and going, hey, you know who you look like. But is it okay if somebody says, hey, look for my friend, they're going to be at the diner, maybe they're a little late. Is it okay to go, who does he look like?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's fun. Because then you get to play a little game with them, and that's sort of like cute and on your own. Just don't repeat that.
Right.
Okay. You're right. Well, hold on. I got something on my throat. Sean Hayes, a little bit.
Oh, really? Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
See, it doesn't feel good.
I just wanted to.
Now I'll feel like I'm the failed actor and he had the career I should have.
I'm so sorry. I just had to test it.
This is why. That's right. Okay. Yes. All right. I like it.
Look at him. I just took
Also,
him.
during Pride Month, you guys, come on. This feels really.
Oh, look how I changed his behavior. I'm so sorry. I just had to test it. It was a joke. It was
See, as long as it's fun, as long as we're laughing. Al Pacino.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I get that all the time. So what can I tell you? Makes you feel shitty. Makes you feel shitty.
I get people all the time going, does anyone ever tell you look like the actor on Seinfeld? I get that a lot. I go, every day. That's what I say.
You gotta have a good stock line for these things. You gotta try them out. That's
you know
right.
what? This is all of a sudden turned sad. I don't know why.
We're going to rule our way out of this. Go ahead, Cory. We're here for you.
Here's an important one.
All right.
So, every once in a while you end up doing karaoke. You guys probably do this like once a week.
Karaoke, sure, yes.
You're out there probably 3 times.
In fact, let's speed this up. I got to be home for karaoke at 4.
Let the record reflect it's like lunchtime in LA. Right. You should. A lot of songs contain words that you, particularly if you are a white person, should not repeat.
Sure. I don't tend to put those in my karaoke playlist, but
listen, it happens. Like the world is crazy. But like there's a word you substitute a nice word like friends.
Sure.
or something
Yep.
like that.
I
The
got
other part of that, by the way, I remember for your list is if you're white, you must call him 50 Cent.
Right.
You
Yes,
don't call
not
him
Fitty.
Fitty.
Yeah,
you
right.
don't ever
right.
do that.
Well,
Say,
wait.
we
Did
just-
that
we're
when
just
when you
signature-
guys came up with that one about substitute words if you're white? Was that because someone in the group knew of someone who got that wrong?
And in some cases got it right. Like I actually had seen a white friend like really reasonably and like nicely maneuver through a karaoke session that could have been incredibly fraught and could have gone
Wow.
down in history as like the wrongest night of all time.
Wow.
And she did great. She totally was like, she aced it.
Good for her.
And
That
I
was-
thought, you know what? I am glad I saw this. She saved me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not that I would hopefully not make a dumb choice, but
Can I ask about a couple?
yeah, please.
This was the only one. There were many in the list that jumped out at me as both yes, indeed, and some that I have questions about. But this was the one that really I have a question because I don't even know what it quite means. There's one that simply says, always wink. What does that mean?
So like, don't you find like, listen, we're men of a certain age. Like, don't you find like certain like mannerisms just like charming? It's just like we've decided that this winking is a communal, charming, like bringing people together kind of like thing we should bring back. It's a little dated, you know what I mean? And like people should feel like they're in on a joke with you at all times.
So are you using it for the I get it? I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's like,
I got it. You got
you
it.
won.
You got it. Uh-huh.
And it's a little campy. It's like a little big.
Sure.
It's a little borscht belt.
Yeah.
But why do I feel that they can get you to HR immediately at work?
I mean, you're not supposed to wink and smack people on the ass.
No, I
But
understand that,
even sort of like nice tie,
clear.
wink.
But I
you
still
know.
like good meeting. I'm going right to the principal's office at that point. The other one that got me and I know there's some pushback, is if you're going to a dinner party, don't tell them you're allergic to this, you're gluten free, and you're this.
Yes,
Right?
I have that one. Don't foist your allergies.
Don't foist
onto
your
a dinner
allergies on
party.
other people.
That's right.
Which is, by the way, if I'm the host of that party, I'm gonna ask.
Right.
But I have people all the time. We had somebody
I
who's
know.
well known.
I
The
know.
wife is well known, and said to my wife, we said we're gonna have some Mexican food, and they went, I don't eat Mexican food. So we had Mexican food and Italian food. And then she proceeded to eat the Italian food and the Mexican
Well,
food.
I have a friend who only within the last couple of years became vegan. We used to have them over for barbecues.
Well,
We
now
used
you
to have
gotta
them
do
over-
the vegan.
And now I go, I don't want to have to take care of you. I don't want to have to open a whole other section
Just for you.
of my bar. It's like having a kosher home. This is the meat section. This is the dairy section.
Oh yeah, now you have kosher. Rabbi, that's over there.
Yeah, right.
So Cory, what do you think? What's the definitive on that?
I mean, listen, this is going to read a little differently in LA because in LA you're going to get the whole laundry list. Oh, it's nightshades and like
Yeah,
you know,
right,
whatever.
exactly, yeah.
So, and that's fine. Like that's just the culture of Los Angeles. That's you guys did this yourselves. So, it's you know what? Honestly, you should take care of yourself. Like you honestly like there's things I don't eat. There's things I don't drink. I don't eat and I don't drink them, and I leave everyone the hell alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's exactly right. And by the way, you can eat later on the way home, get an In-N-Out burger or something. It's not that you're not going there to eat, you're going there to socialize. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Although, the new thing now that everyone's on the drugs, on the Ozempics and the whatnot, is that people are like sort of forgetting. I talked to a friend today. She said, I was at a dinner party last night on a Sunday night, and she put the chicken in at like 10 p.m. because she just didn't care because she wasn't hungry anymore.
Oh.
And everyone there is like starving.
Oh my gosh!
She's on
I never
Ozempic.
thought of that.
It's okay to email, text, or direct message anyone at any hour.
All right. People are mad at us over this still. Here's my deal. And people who are mad at us are like, my mother is dying and I need to be able to get texts from anyone at any time. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. But the rest of us are in charge of our phones. Like my friends text me at 2 a.m. I have my phone notifications turned off because I'm in bed.
Right.
Like that is part of being an adult now. And if you can't handle it, like get rid of your phone.
Oh,
Right?
I like it. I like it. Not only do you have rules, you have consequences. I like it.
But the thing is, how important is what you texted me at 3 a.m. that you couldn't do it at 7 when you got
well,
up?
it's
Really?
3 a.m. where you are. Maybe it's 6 a.m. where I am.
Thank you.
Going
It's a
in,
global world.
going into the ER now, thought you should know. You don't want me to send you that message?
You did a guilt text.
Oh, yeah.
You got
You know what? It's never
yours.
important at 3 a.m. It's always either not important or it's just really horny.
Exactly.
All right, how about this one? You can discipline your friends' kids, but not a stranger's. I have never, but I've wanted to, go to a house and said to a kid, listen, don't tell your father, but shut the hell up and sit down. I've never done that. Although I did one time. This was, Jason knows I'm pretty good, but I went to a swim club to get away with my wife before we had kids. And it was an adults only like vacation. So for 2 days we're at this place and there's a family that brought their kids. And I'm lying by the pool and the kid, you've heard this story before, but the kid is going, look at me, 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 look at me. And I'm lying in the chair. And you know I have misophonia anyway, where things sounds driving me crazy. Right. Look at me. And I exploded and yelled, will you the fuck look at your kid? And everybody applauded. It was in palm. Everybody went nuts. They exploded. So,
nice.
But discipline, have you ever disciplined your friends' kids?
Try and discipline their parents, honestly, because mostly what I'm seeing with problem kids is just terrible parenting. I'm mad at my best friend right now. Can you tell I'm mad? I'm really worked up about this. This kid, I'm going to smack these parents. The kid's fine. The kid's a kid. He's blameless.
So do the parents, but could you discipline a friend's kids?
A friend's kid?
A friend's kids.
Well, I think of discipline in a very different way. I'm not going to, I'm not going to spank. I'm not going to yell at them. I have absolutely said to a friend's kid who did something, I went, that hurts my feelings when you say
Whoa,
that. That's great.
Wow.
That's really good. That's amazing. You know what? I wish you would discipline my whole family.
Oh, you did the, this is how, well, this is how you make me feel.
Yeah.
There's no comeback to this.
It's not, I'm not going to, first of all, I don't believe in corporal punishment, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't threaten a child. I wouldn't,
Well, that's good to know.
But I think you can. I think. By the way, I would say that to a stranger's child. I would go, hey, listen, you get to say what you feel, but I just want you to know what you've said is really hurtful.
Really good. This is a very nice lesson.
And you've hurt my feelings. You had one that I don't. I think I'm still guilty of it, and I don't want to be. It's something I've really worked on, but this is a really good one where you wrote, listening is not the time to silently rehearse what you want to say next. And I think so many of us are, to really be a full listener is not a skill we are taught, and it's not one that's easily acquired. Peter, what do you have to say? I wish you had prepared something.
Don't know what you said. No, that is true.
That's
People are. It's funny. This happened in a pitch for a show. I was pitching, and one of the executives was sitting there, and people are writing while I'm pitching. Yeah. And the executive said, "Why don't you put down your pens,
right,
and listen to what the guy's saying, rather than writing questions you're going to ask to impress me?" And it was like, whoa, that was a biggie. And you know what? That is what you get in pitch meetings.
Yeah.
They're not really invested in it. It's hard to be. My grandmother used to say, the older living the future, the younger living the past, and nobody's living in the present. It's very hard to be 100% present, but if you can be, or when you can be, it's a gift to be that focused.
Yeah, what was the reaction to that one, Cory? I mean, is it something that, if you guys, put it down, is it something that came up a lot in your group, or is it something that someone was working on, or?
Yeah, it was a little personal, this one. This was sort of a sleeper. Like, this one didn't get a lot of attention, but actually when we did talk about it with people, it was like, it always led to these kind of intense, like, serious moments like this, which I really appreciate. Like this one, I hope he doesn't listen, but I'm going to say this one came up with my spouse. And part of it was like, we were sometimes having conversations, and I was like, I can see him looking up and thinking about what he wants to put in next while I'm still saying my words. And I was like, and I would be like, hey, I need you to come back and, like, make the eye contact and stuff. So this came out of this experience, but I had a lot of really good talks with people about this one.
Yeah, because a lot of people can't be present. I just want to say something real quick, Laura. Somebody's hammering. They're actually building an ark right outside of the thing now. So it's a little distracting when you're trying to be 100% present.
I wonder, I really do wonder, this just gets philosophical with me. I wonder if that tendency to be activated by something we hear and you start preparing your response before you hear fully is part of, we were talking to another guest, taping another episode earlier today about, why we're not able to hear each other. We can't sit with each other. We're this divide that we keep talking about. And I think sometimes it's because we're not really listening. We're not listening openly. I wonder how much of being triggered by something is because you've heard the thing that is triggering, but you haven't heard the context, you haven't heard the intent, you haven't heard, that I think you guys articulated one that is just not only is it a rule, but it's a powerful lesson. And I'll be the first to say I'm not incredibly great at this.
Well, except that, and I think I would love to get Cory's sense. As I'm hearing you say that, what I'm thinking is we're clickbait. We're so now, even in editorial, and I'd love to know, because I left radio because I'd had enough of not being able to have conversations with people. I did talk radio for a long time. But people would immediately be triggered and think, I disagree with it. And if whatever it is, that is such a powerful negative that they can't let you finish without that eliciting the response in him, he's wrong and I got to win. It's different than when I was growing up and it's, why did he say that and I have a different opinion? It's now more reflexive because everything we read, and I don't know the pressure you have in print journalism, editorial or online journalism, to say every article we do, does it fulfill the clickbait thing where I'm going to get eyeballs on this thing rather than it's interesting and I'd really entice some readership to this. It's a really it's a horrible balancing act, I'm finding.
It's hard on us. I chalk a lot of this up to all of our attention spans, mine included, which is not great. But also, I think for us in the media, we're in a funny business, and we're a serious magazine, and we're a fun magazine also. But we're trying to bridge the distance between saying I want you to read this thing, and here's why it's important. And I want it to be a little bit salty and a little bit sassy at the same time. Right. But I also don't, we're not here in the business of waving the gross flag and getting people ginned up to be mad for no reason. Even with this, rules package, we were a little bit, it's packaged, it's pitched a little bit aggressively, but it's not, we tried not to clickbait it because it's you're going to have a good time reading this. We've tried to make it intriguing and fun and substantial, but without being too heavy-handed and without also just being too tardy.
Right. No, but given that, have you had pushback that was surprising for you?
The tipping stuff really pushed pretty hard. People are upset about tipping in a way that I think we have to examine a little bit further. I think it's touching on something about people feeling taken advantage of.
Yeah.
In tipping, it's not about is the world fair? Are workplaces fair? It's sort of I'm giving all I can, or are people taking advantage of me? And it's pushing and tipping. The tipping conversation spirals into these kind of dark places. A lot.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on it here with someone who is part of what they teach at university is tipping etiquette and what the new norms are and how they're changing. And wow. It is about, we got into a whole thing about, I remember going into something like a Starbucks. I don't think it was a Starbucks, but I didn't order a coffee. I picked up a water bottle and something else that was on the shelf, and I went to pay for it with my card. And when they turned to tip the screen around, it had, tip 10%, 15%. And I went, well, what's my obligation here? Right. It's just, it has gotten.
They turn the screen around. So the entire line is now your audience to see you either being cheap or I can't believe he's a celebrity. He didn't do 30% on the gun. Right. All of a sudden, everyone has to know what I tip. And speaking of tipping, I think one of yours was splitting the bill is just the easiest way to do it. It's the right way to do it. I don't drink. When I go out with people who have a couple of drinks, man, and we split the bill, I do it evenly. But I resent them for the rest of their natural life.
No, you don't. I had my friend's big birthday party the night. There were just three of us. They both drink. I don't drink. They know that. And I was like, you guys, we have to split this bill evenly. I can't. First of all, you're going to make me do math while I'm having a beautiful evening with my friends? Come on.
So you don't care that they have a bottle of champagne, a thing, a wine, a thing, and you had a tomato soup.
No. They had $100 bottle of wine, and I had a seltzer.
I will give you an example of something. It's interesting, and I'll even credit it. The first time I ever heard of it, it was Jerry Seinfeld, where if you know that your intention is to cover the meal, to pay for the meal, Jerry did a thing that I heard about that I went, oh my God, that's brilliant, is he got to the restaurant early, gave them the card, and said, don't even bring us a check, just add a percentage for the tip, and I'm pre-signing it, and that's it. So that, the meal ended, and he said, well, this was great, and, see you guys next time. And they're like, well, we have to get the bill. And he went, don't worry about it. Done. And nobody could go, oh, no, well, you shouldn't.
It was a Curb episode. They did a Curb episode about that.
I actually thought that was, I've done that on a number of occasions, but I thought that was a great idea.
Not enough with me. Anyway.
No. With friends. With
you guys, I'm available anytime. But,
I love never wake up your significant other for any reason to tell them anything while they're sleeping.
you know this rule, right? It's amazing. And yet people do this.
But what about to the other side? Well, I can imagine. I can imagine. I've had kidney stones in my time. I have woken my wife up to go, I'm having a kidney stone. And if she was on her game, she'd go, so what do you want me to do?
Exactly. I'm not going in to get it out. What the hell is that about? But you want to share
I guess. In case I am wrong, if I've misdiagnosed and you find me dead on the bathroom floor, I guess.
So you
shouldn't die without informing your spouse. That's
right.
Yeah, you want them to know.
There are exceptions to every rule.
You may callously cancel almost any plans up until 2 p.m.
So this was a big thing that changed, we think, from COVID on. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, there was more and more notice. Now it's like, it's afternoon, it's lunch, you're not going to dinner, just tell them it's over. I think people let each other off the hook a lot more with plans now than they ever did before. And we think it's okay.
You have good
Corey,
friends.
what
you
we
have
said
good
prior
friends.
to this is, how many times have you used the I think I have COVID thing when you knew you didn't have COVID? How many times? Show me. One hand, two hands?
A couple.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely a few times.
I've never done that.
Oh,
What?
I've never done I think I have COVID. I've said I'm feeling a little under the weather, but COVID is very specific.
But you know what it does? It completely makes them forget about the cancellation, and you're a good person for thinking about their health and welfare.
This is a good one. I do this to Peter very often. If someone starts telling you a story you've heard, you have 2 seconds to stop them. Tell me about
you
that.
two have known each other too long, and he tells so many stories.
Yeah.
It's got to happen like once a week.
Yeah, easily. I let one slide today when Peter had to tell you that he'd been in talk radio for 30 years. Every episode, there's some reference to him being in talk radio for 30 years.
Well, he doesn't know me. He knows you were in Seinfeld, asshole. It's kind of a different thing, right? They kind
He's
of know
famous
your
to me
bio.
from the stage.
That's
though.
right. Thank you, Cory.
ouch,
Thank you.
ouch, ouch.
I know a New Yorker when I see one.
A Tony Award winner.
That's right.
This one.
But no, that's right. You can cut him off. You can be like, "That's right. You told me that just the other week. I loved that story."
No, Jason has to remind me, and if he doesn't do it, he's got to figure out new ways to do it punishingly. I heard it before. It's got to be. That was a minute and a half ago.
Well, it's like how I discipline friends' children and people that I don't know. I have to straighten
It's
you out.
psychological. You should also mention when you discipline children, it's a little pinch under the arm.
You guys should also get a couples therapist on the show to work with you two.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they might surrender. I
hang
know a
themselves.
couple
They
therapists
may
who
hang
got
themselves.
brought in to rectify a chairman of the board and their board. And after a weekend, they turned to the guy they were brought in for and went, you're impossible. And
Cory, that'll be fascinating for the listeners.
Great.
So this one makes me laugh because it is more Hollywood than New York, I think. Don't post RIPs for celebrities.
yeah, if you don't know them, yeah.
Yeah, somebody dies and you post it immediately.
First of all, Cory, please, do you want to speak to that about how that came?
I think there was a period where a bunch of people died, and it just was like, it was tacky. And it was like, you know what? They're someone's dad. Like, give it a rest.
Yeah. I got called out on social media for not commenting on a celebrity who died. And I went, I didn't know them. I'm sorry they're gone, but why is my particular condolence for a person I do not know and never met? Why is that suddenly I have a character flaw because I didn't make a comment? We don't all know each other. I mean,
I think they think everybody does know each other. By the way, speaking of death, it's never too late to send a condolence
I
note.
like that.
Really, 4 months after somebody's thrown a 7, you're writing their spouse and saying, you know what? I know it's been 4 months, but it's still bothering me, still hurting me. Yeah?
Yeah, we're as older people, we all know there's a lot of death around us, and like it feels good. Like if you're like, hey, I was really caught up in myself. I know your mother died 6 months ago. I just wanted to drop a note and say like, I'm so sorry, and I remember the time that she said X or Y to me or to you. You know what I mean? People love a memory about someone who's died in their life,
That's
and bringing
really
that to them, and on a yard even like or years later, like is great.
You sold it to me. You sold
I
it
like
very
it.
sweetly. The way you said it. As a matter of fact, I may call you later on to help me write one from somebody I missed a year and a half ago.
My mom's gone 7 years. I still got nothing.
Jason said,
Yeah, right.
no, I wrote you. I said, your
But
mom,
here's but you know what
you
goes
remember
with
what
this
I wrote
one?
You?
Yes.
Your mom left many memories and $7 million worth of sweet and love.
That's right.
That's what, yeah.
But there's also one that goes with that about you can send a condolence at any time, but do not send it with an edible arrangement.
Edible. I was just going to go to that as our last thing. When somebody sends me flowers made out of cantaloupe, I honestly don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Take it to the homeless encampment. I mean, God bless, like feed someone, but like, we got, actually, I have to say people were furious about this because a lot of people were like, I love edible arrangements. I was like, okay, then you're getting one.
Well, wait.
Enjoy.
If
You're repurposing old cantaloupe?
Yeah. I want to see if this one rankled anybody. I just love the way it was said, too. I think I'm quoting it correctly. If you saw someone shoplifting, no, you didn't. What is
really? Yeah, don't get involved.
you don't say, it's not, if you see something, say something, that's not good?
Our general, no, if your mom owns the store, maybe it's different. But we think generally in turnstile jumping and finger grab, taking a little stuff off the shelves, it's happening. You don't know why it's happening. You don't know where it's going. Mind your business.
Hold up. How about an armed robbery?
Armed robber, you should seize the weapon from the robber and tackle them to the ground.
Yeah.
Cory,
even you two, you have it in you. I believe.
You bet I do. What else? So when you get something that's working as well as this, as the new rules, is this just going to be something that goes on and on and on until, because it certainly seems like it can? Or what else? Like when you're editing a section of a major magazine the way you are, what like, are you always thinking, what's the next thing we do? How do we keep this relevant? Because it's such an interesting section, of a magazine or a newspaper. It's so it has endless possibilities, but it also doesn't quite play by any certain set of rules. It's not necessarily dictated to by something that happens in the news. So how do you spin on this kind of thing?
We found a couple of places to take it recently too. We're just between us and your listeners is that we realized that there were so many fraught ethical questions, less etiquette, more ethics around pet ownership. So we're actually working on a bunch of stuff around pet ethics right now, and some of which is etiquette. But I think we realized that behind etiquette is rules and ethics about how we think we should live, and so we're actually sort of trying to unpack some of that.
Wow.
Well, and you know what, Cory? I was going to close out the segment. We usually say goodbye and then we do a wrap. But there's rule creep. You know what I mean? There's I was saying HOAs, whatever. And if you can ask why that happens, but look at society now is just more rules. Yeah. But then you also, on the other hand, ask yourself, do you really know how to behave correctly in this situation today? Because things are changing so fast as far as attack and et cetera, and what to call out and what not. So you do have an endless wall to choose from. Before you go, can I ask you one question about style and fashion, since you were the style editor for a long time? What's the late breaking fashion for men, women coming up into 2024?
Mostly near nudity.
I'm sorry? Say what?
Near nudity. Like I would say, like what you're seeing in fashion, and I think you're going to see this as it heats up this summer, and in LA in particular, you're going to see more tops and bottoms of people's butts, more under boob, more over. Like you're just going to see people basically naked.
Why?
Because it feels great and it's hot out. Because global warming. Because nothing matters. I don't know.
Well, seriously, is it also indicative of a different attitude about? I mean, some of it is just decorum, vanity. I was brought up. You just don't wear certain things. Like I would never wear flip flops on an airplane. I mean, it's just that kind of thing.
That ship has sailed. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And is that because generations coming up are going, no, to hell with that stuff. If you be who you are, dress how you dress. If you want to show your body, show your body. Are we coming up to a time where it will be no big deal for anybody, male, female, or whatever gender they identify with, to be topless on the street, and we all just go fine?
I honestly think we're getting kind of close. I mean, we live in New York City where toplessness of all genders is legal on the street, which is not something people take advantage of every day.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like more and more, like I think we're seeing things that resemble toplessness in people's clothing, and I don't know where it's going. It's sort of fascinating. I don't know what it means. Does it mean freedom? Does it mean outrageousness? Is it attention seeking? Is it a social media consequence? Or is it just the next great thing because people always have to try something new? I don't know.
And body positivity. I guess people feel more comfortable in their bodies and less judged. That could be.
Part of me always wondered if we did have more public nudity, if we'd finally get over all this body stuff. The biggest clickbait in the world is so-and-so side boob. And you go, I can't. Why are you clicking on this?
The only thing is, if you've ever accidentally stumbled into a nude beach, I couldn't wear more clothing after seeing that experience. It was like, wow.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I do think of something, and I think like actually Brianna and her underwear line and like stuff like that has done good work with this. Is like what you're saying, Jason, is good. Is that like people's bodies don't always look ideal. Like I don't know. I mean, mine is amazing, but like but like this doesn't.
Noted.
Everything looks great from every angle, and I think that I think young people are doing a good job of saying like this is my unideal body. It is the body I will be living in until I die. And like, we're going to have to get used to it. So enjoy some of this cellulite and some of this man flab and like, let's move along.
Yeah, well, Cory, I want to thank you and your perfect body for coming on.
It's great. I'll hear it, please.
And continued success at the magazine. And thanks for the new rules of etiquette. We do need rules. I think that.
And by the way, if you do a podcasting version, let us know. Because
you'll be our only guests.
But also we want to follow the rules of proper podcast as well. So,
I think it might be too late.
It might.
Anything you want to promote before you go? Any new book? Any new appearance? Anything?
Oh, I have too many schemes to promote.
I love that.
I love that. Well, when you have
very LA answer. No, I'm call my agent. It's great.
Okay. Cory Sika, thank you very much for coming on. Well,
thanks.
All right. Thanks, Cory.
See you again.
Take care. Be well.
Bye, party animals.
Bye. Well,
you know what? If we were nicer, sweeter, less criminal, less, we wouldn't need all these rules. It's funny. Somebody said the other day when I was telling about the segment, they said, you know what? There weren't as many murders. There weren't as many bad people. And I said, there weren't as many people. If you take the percentage of the population that's bad today as opposed to the percentage of the population then, it's about the same as far as bad people, except that with tech, one person can do much more damage today.
Sure.
So,
but when you talk about, you cannot have a society without rules. How do I know? How do I know? Think about the 10 Commandments. You can't get any more basic. But somebody went, we have no rules. Let's at least get the basics down. Don't kill each other.
Again, that's what I said.
Don't steal each other's stuff.
Wouldn't it be great if we didn't need,
yeah.
By the way, sports, you need rules. Traffic, driving on the right side of the road. I mean, how do you eat? How to do? So it's just.
And this seems like, and we did have fun with Cory, and I'm so thrilled that we did, because a lot of the stuff that he and his team are coming up with are just fun and silly. But there's also that we got onto a couple of them that are like, yeah,
dude, we did an entire episode about public behavior and how it's degenerating. People
Yeah.
are throwing stuff on stage with performers. Why would you feel the need that
Right.
it's okay?
Do we need somebody to come down from a mountain and go, don't throw
do
stuff
that?
at people that are singing?
Yeah, you do. And then we have that whole backlog of performers not coming on stage going, you know what? And on video and online saying, don't do this.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. You really need that.
Yeah.
And the way people treat, it's a shame. I know performers, even this, if you have any number of audience followers, there's going to be a percentage that are going to be horrible, that feel entitled to denigrate and say horrible things. It's not about your performance or I didn't like the episode. It's just reaming other people.
Yeah.
What's that about? What is that behavior about?
I'm better if you're worse. I think it's that.
I understand that. Mr. Guggenheim, that was kind of interesting, fascinating about rules.
Yeah,
One of the rules is
I've
we
been
end with
breaking
you.
Most of them, but now I know
Yeah.
that I'll be breaking them. But my question was, for either one of you, if you want to take it, what was the rudest thing that you've ever done or witnessed in your life?
The rudest thing?
The rudest thing. Oh my God, I can't believe either I did that or someone else did that
just thought of
to
what it
me
was.
or
Do you know
around
yours?
me. Or
Wow. I'm trying to think.
So I went out with a couple people for my birthday to a restaurant, and we were it was the post-COVID, but it was still like in a big tent where they had tables outside, and we were in the corner, way in the corner, and apparently, and my whole family saw this, but I wasn't privy to it. Another family sat down with a teenage boy and a teenage girl, and the husband, the father, lost it, started railing at the daughter, took her phone, ripped it out of her hand, and threw it across the restaurant, and it whizzed. I didn't see any of this. It whizzed by my head, ricocheted off the wall, and people were running out to ask our table from the restaurant, "Are you okay?" And I didn't know what was going on because it was so dramatic and so over the top, and so it was unsettling for my family watching somebody treat their daughter that way. And then they sat down and continued to eat, but whizzed the phone past my head like a fastball. Ricocheting off the wall and having that kind of outburst at a restaurant was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think listen, I'm sure I would not be proud of it. I don't know, but I'm not thinking of something I've done. I'm sure I've been perceived to be rude, or maybe I've been rude at some point. But the thing I remember, and I won't name names, but my family was at a restaurant with other people at our table, and granted, we didn't have the best service I've ever seen, but it was also very clear that the person waiting on us was a bit overwhelmed. It was pre-theater, things had to move, and we were a fairly large table. We had 10 people at our table, and some of the people in the other party were openly disparaging and condescending and insulting, and I cannot. That just makes me.
It's not right.
Crazy when it's just not the enough said. It makes me crazy.
David, thank you. Producer Laurie, thank you.
Producer Laurie, Amir, Elizabeth. Who am I forgetting?
Our children, our wives.
My son Noah, our announcer. Who else is on our team that we should mention?
We're out of team. We're
Everyone,
out of budget. We're out of budget.
We're done. Should I sing another song that we can't pay
And
for?
by the way, the guy hammering.
And the guy hammering and drilling next door.
Unbelievable.
Let's thank Howie Mandel and his entire studio here.
And I want to know if the bookcases fit. Maybe they were making a bookcase or some gift for us.
I think they're trying to replace the metal corrugated door that separates us from the sounds of the rest of the studio, not knowing that metal is a fantastic refractor of sound.
What's the movie where the zombies are running 800 miles an hour and killing people?
Oh, 28 hours later.
28 hours
days later.
I
yeah.
feel like when they put the door down, it's like 28 hours later. They're keeping out some evil. Thank you.
New rule, no hammering outside our door. Good night, everybody.